A human soldier saw an alien girl's empty lunchbox. What he found inside made him cry. Sergeant Elias Kane walked slowly through the big refugee hall on Calyx 7 Moon. The place smelled of metal and old food and too many tired bodies. Lights overhead buzzed soft and yellow, like they were sleepy too. Elias carried his small ration pack under one arm. His boots made quiet thumps on the cold floor. He found his usual spot near the wall, where nobody bothered him much. He sat down with his back against the hard panel. Around him, people moved like shadows. Some talked in low voices. Some just stared at nothing. Humans were still new here. Many aliens looked at them with narrow eyes. They called humans loud and quick to fight. Elias did not care what they thought. He opened his ration pack. Inside was gray protein bar and one small packet of water. He broke the bar in half. He chewed slow. His eyes wandered across the crowded space. That was when he saw her again. A small alien girl sat alone, on the wall, floor not far away. Her skin shone faint silver under the lights. Her big violet eyes looked down at her lap. She wore old patched clothes that hung loose on her thin body. In front of her rested a small dented lunchbox. It looked old and used many times. The girl opened the lid every day with careful hands. She stared inside for a long moment. Then she closed it again. She never ate anything. Elias watched her do this yesterday and the day before. Today made 3 days in a row. Nobody went near her. Other refugees kept their distance. Maybe they thought she carried bad luck. Maybe they just had their own pain to carry. Elias felt something stir inside his chest. It was not pity exactly. It felt older and heavier, like an old wound that still ached when the weather changed. He remembered kids like her back on Earth. Small faces in ruined streets. Empty hands reaching for nothing. He finished his protein bar. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. The girl still sat there. Her fingers traced the edge of the lunchbox. Round and round in slow circles, Elias stood up. His knees popped loud. He walked over. Not too fast, not too close. He stopped a few steps away. He lowered himself to the floor, cross-legged like her. He kept some space between them. He spoke in simple galactic standard. His voice came out rough from not using it much. "Mind if I sit here?" The girl flinched. Her whole body went stiff. She did not look up. Elias waited. He did not move closer. After a long silence, she whispered one word. "Okay." Her voice sounded small and dry, like wind over dead leaves. Elias nodded even though she did not see it. He pulled out the other half of his protein bar. He held it out flat on his palm. "You want some?" She shook her head fast. "No, it is yours." Elias shrugged. He took a small bite himself. "Tastes like cardboard anyway." He said it light, like a joke. She did not smile. Her eyes stayed on the lunchbox. Elias chewed slow. He looked around the hall again. A Virith family hurried past. They pulled 2 small bags behind them. Human medic walked the other way. He carried a crying toddler on his shoulder. The child had green scales and tiny horns. The medic patted its back gentle. Elias turned back to the girl. "What is your name?" She waited a moment, then she answered, soft. "Lyra." "Nice name. I am Elias." She nodded once. Very small movement. Elias pointed at the lunchbox. "That yours?" "Yes." She hugged it closer to her chest. "Every day you open it. Then you close it. No food." Lyra looked up for the first time. Her violet eyes met his. They looked huge and wet. "I wait." "For what?" "For my aunt. She said she would come." Elias felt his stomach twist. "How long you been waiting?" "Long time. Weeks maybe. Nobody knows." Elias rubbed his jaw. Stubble scratched his fingers. "Where is your family?" Lyra looked down again. "Gone. Orbital strike. Mama hid me in a crate. She said stay quiet, stay small." Then everything shook. Then quiet. Elias swallowed hard. He knew that story too many times. Different words, same ending. He wanted to say sorry, The word felt too small. Instead he asked, "You hungry?" Lyra shook her head again. "I have this." She tapped the lunchbox. Elias frowned. "It looks empty." "It is not." She said it firm, like it was the most important truth. Elias did not argue. He sat quiet. Minutes passed. The hall lights dimmed a little, night cycle starting. People began to find corners to sleep. Lyra stayed where she was. She opened the lunchbox once more. She stared inside. Her lips moved silent, like she whispered to someone. Then she closed it gentle. Elias watched every move. Something warm and sharp grew behind his eyes. He remembered his own sister, back on Earth. Before the call-up, she used to pack notes in his lunch. Silly drawings, bad jokes. He kept every one in his kit, even after she was gone. He cleared his throat. "I come here tomorrow, if that is okay." Lyra looked at him again. Her eyes searched his face. Then she nodded. "Okay." Elias stood up slow. He brushed dust from his pants. "Sleep good, Lyra." She did not answer. She just hugged the lunchbox tighter. Elias walked back to his spot. He leaned against the wall. He stared at the ceiling. Lights flickered faint. He thought about empty boxes, about kids who carried ghosts in metal, about how some pains looked the same no matter the species. He closed his eyes, but sleep did not come easy. The image of Lyra stayed. Small silver girl, big violet eyes, empty lunchbox full of something he could not yet name. Tomorrow he would try again. Maybe bring extra food, maybe just sit. Either way he would be there, because some things, even in a cold galaxy, were worth showing up for. The next morning, Elias woke up stiff from sleeping on the hard floor. His neck hurt and his back felt like someone hit it with a stick. He rubbed his eyes and looked around the hall. Most refugees still slept in piles of blankets and coats. The air smelled sour from too many bodies and not enough fresh air. Elias stood up slow. He stretched until his joints popped. Then he walked to the mess line. The server was a tired human woman with short gray hair. She handed out trays without looking up. Elias asked for 2 extra portions today. He said one was for a friend. The woman raised one eyebrow, but gave him the food anyway. He took the tray back to his spot. He waited until the lights brightened for day cycle. Soon the hall filled with noise. People talked and coughed and shuffled feet. Elias saw Lyra in the same place. She sat with her knees pulled up. The lunchbox rested between her feet, like a guard. He walked over, careful. He set the tray down a short distance away. Then he sat on the floor again. "Morning, Lyra." She looked up fast. Her violet eyes went wide for a second. Then she relaxed a little. "Morning, Elias." He smiled small. "Brought extra today. Thought maybe you like the sweet one." He pointed to a small packet of fruit paste. It was bright orange and smelled like fake berries. Lyra stared at it. She licked her lips once. Then she shook her head. "No thank you. It is yours." Elias sighed quiet. He opened his own packet anyway. He squeezed some onto his finger and tasted it. "Not bad. Tastes like real fruit if you close your eyes." Lyra watched him. Her fingers played with the latch on the lunchbox. Elias ate slow. He did not push her. After a while he asked, "You sleep okay?" She nodded. "Sort of. The floor is cold." Elias looked around. "Many people use extra clothes for pillows. You can try that. Maybe tomorrow I bring a blanket." Lyra looked surprised. "You would do that?" "Sure. Got nothing better to do." He shrugged like it was no big deal. Inside his chest felt warm, like something old and rusty started moving again. Lyra opened her lunchbox. Then she stared inside the same way. Her mouth moved soft, like she said words only she could hear. Elias watched close. He saw nothing inside, just clean metal that looked polished too much. When she closed it, he asked, gentle, "What do you see in there?" Lyra hugged the box tight. "Mama." Elias felt his throat get thick. He nodded slow. "She must have been good." Lyra looked at him. She was the best. She made moss cakes every morning. They glowed soft blue. And starberries, they popped sweet on your tongue. She sang while she packed it. Always the same song, about flying home on silver wings. Elias listened hard. He pictured it in his head. A silver-skinned mother, small hands making food, voice soft like wind. He said, "Sounds nice." Lyra nodded. It was. Now it is quiet. Elias reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small cloth square. It was from his old uniform sleeve, soft and worn. "Here, use this for a pillow tonight. It is not much, but better than nothing." Lyra took it careful. Her fingers brushed his. They felt cool, like metal left in shade. "Thank you," she whispered. Elias smiled again. "Any time." Days started to pass like that. Elias came every morning with extra food. Sometimes fruit paste, sometimes nutrient bars that tasted like nuts, sometimes small pieces of bread. He traded for. Lyra never took any. But she talked more. She told him about her home before the war. A small dome house on Virith Moon, with windows that showed 3 rings in the sky. She told him how her mother braided her hair with glowing threads, how they danced when music played on festival nights. Elias listened. He told her bits of his own life, too. About Earth cities full of lights. About riding bikes down big hills when he was a kid. About losing his squad on Virith Prime. How the explosions shook everything. How he crawled out alone. Lyra listened quiet. Her eyes got big when he talked about Earth rain. She said, "Water from the sky, like tears that never stop." Elias laughed soft. "Yeah, sometimes too much. But it makes things grow." Afternoon. Lyra asked, "Why do you sit with me? Other humans walk past. They look away." Elias thought for a moment. "Because you remind me of someone." "Who?" "My little sister. She was small like you. Always carried a box too, packed full of notes and drawings. She said it kept me safe when I was far away." Lyra tilted her head. "Where is she now?" Elias looked at the floor. "Gone. Same kind of story. Different place." Lyra reached out slow. She touched his arm light. "I'm sorry." Elias swallowed. "Me too. But sitting here, it helps a little." Lyra nodded like she understood. They sat quiet for a long time. The hall noise moved around them like water around rocks. Later that day, Elias traded a ration pack for a small blanket. It was thin and gray, but clean. He brought it to Lyra. She took it and wrapped it around her shoulders. It looked big on her, like a cape. She smiled for the first time, small and shy. "Thank you, Elias." He grinned back. "Looks good on you." That night, Lyra slept with the blanket pulled tight. She used his cloth square. Under her head, Elias watched from his spot across the hall. He saw her open the lunchbox one last time before lights dimmed. She whispered to it, then closed it gentle. Elias lay down on his own coat. He stared up at the ceiling. Lights went low. Darkness came soft. He thought about small boxes, about empty spaces filled with memories, about how a kid could keep someone alive just by opening a lid every day. He closed his eyes. Sleep came easier than before, because tomorrow he would be there again, with more food she would not eat, with more stories she would listen to, with more quiet company. Because some things mattered more than rations, more than orders, more than war, and sitting with one small silver girl was starting to feel like the most important job he ever had. Weeks passed slow, in the big refugee hall on Calyx 7. Each day started the same way for Elias. He woke up early. He stretched his sore back. He walked to the mess line before the crowd grew too thick. The gray-haired server knew him now. She slid extra packets across the counter without him asking. Elias thanked her every time. He carried the tray back, careful. He found Lyra in her usual spot. She waited with the blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Her silver skin caught the morning light soft. Her violet eyes looked a little brighter each day. "Good morning, Elias." She said it first now, Her voice came stronger. "Morning, Lyra, how was the blanket?" "Warm," she smiled small, like a secret. Elias sat down. He spread the food between them. Today he had 2 fruit pastes, 1 nut bar, and a piece of flatbread he traded for. He opened the nut bar. He broke it in half. "Tried this yet?" Lyra shook her head. "Smells good." Elias held out half. "Just smell it then. No eating required." Lyra leaned forward. She sniffed careful. Nose wrinkled cute, like cinnamon and dirt mixed. She giggled quiet. Elias felt his chest loosen. That sound was new. He liked it. They talked easy now. Lyra told more stories about how her mother used to hide starberries in moss cakes, so every bite surprised sweet. About festival nights when the whole dome glowed blue. About how she and her mother danced until they fell laughing. Elias listened close. He pictured the scenes clear in his head. He shared more, too, about Earth's summers, hot days when kids ran through water sprays in parks, about winter snow fights with his sister, how they built forts and threw balls until fingers froze, about how he joined the service young to see stars up close, to make things better somehow. Lyra asked questions. Why do humans fight so much? Elias thought long before answering. Some fight because they are scared, some because they are angry, some because they think it is the only way. But most just want to go home safe, like everyone else. Lyra nodded slow, loud but strong hearts. She looked at him. I think she was right. Elias felt heat rise in his face. He looked away quick. One afternoon the hall got noisy. A group of Virith refugees argued loud near the center. They waved papers. They shouted about deportation lists. Elias watched tense. Lyra moved closer to him. Her small hand brushed his sleeve. He looked down. She looked scared. What is happening? She asked soft. Elias listened to the shouts. They say some transports leave soon, back to border zones. Lyra hugged her lunchbox tight. Not me. Auntie will come. Elias put a hand on her shoulder light. We will figure it out, he said it firm, even though he did not know how. Days kept going. Elias brought little things now, not just food. A shiny stone he found in the corridor. A piece of soft string to tie her hair. A small drawing he made on ration wrapper. It showed a crude ship flying toward rings in the sky. Lyra kept every gift in her blanket folds. She showed him how Virith children played shadow games, to make shapes on the wall. When lights dimmed, Elias tried. His big hands made clumsy birds and trees. Lyra laughed bright. You are bad at this. Elias grinned. Practice makes perfect. One evening, Lyra opened her lunchbox longer than usual. She stared inside. Her lips moved slow. Elias watched quiet. When she closed it, she looked at him. I do this every day. So Mama knows I am okay. If I stop, she fades. Elias felt something sharp in his throat, like broken glass. He understood too well. He remembered packing his sister's old scarf in his kit, touching it every night after she died, pretending she still laughed nearby. He said soft, She knows. Every time you open that box, she hears you. Lyra looked up. Her eyes shone wet. You think so? I know so, because I do the same thing with my own ghosts. Lyra reached out. She took his hand this time. Her fingers felt cool and small. Thank you for sitting. Elias squeezed gentle. Thank you for letting me. That night, the hall lights dimmed low. Most people slept. Elias lay on his coat. He stared at the dark ceiling. Lyra slept not far away, curled under her blanket. Lunchbox beside her head, like a pillow. Elias thought about how strange it felt to care this much again, after so long feeling nothing. War took a lot. Friends, hope, pieces of himself. But this small silver girl, with her empty box and brave whispers, gave something back, quiet and real. He closed his eyes. Sleep came warm, because tomorrow would come, with more stories, more small gifts, more quiet sittings side by side. Because some connections grew strong in silence, and some empty boxes held more than food ever could. Elias smiled in the dark, for the first time in years. He looked forward to morning. One morning, the loudspeakers crackled awake earlier than usual. The voice was cold and mechanical. It announced a major deportation wave starting that day. Vireth refugees would board transports back to contested zones. No exceptions unless papers proved otherwise. The hall exploded into chaos. People shouted questions. Some cried loud. Others ran to the processing desks with wrinkled forms. Guards in gray uniforms formed lines. They pushed crowds back with raised hands. Elias stood up fast. His heart beat hard in his chest. He looked for Lyra. She was not in her usual spot. The blanket lay folded neat. The lunchbox was gone. Panic rose quick in his throat. He pushed through the moving bodies. He called her name soft at first, then louder. Lyra, Lyra, where are you? No answer came. He checked corners. He looked under supply crates. He asked other refugees if they saw her. Most shook heads. One old Vireth woman pointed toward the back wall. She said the small one ran that way. Elias hurried over. Tall crates was dim. Shadows stretched long. He found her squeezed into a narrow space. She sat with knees to chest, lunchbox clutched tight. Her whole body shook. Silver skin looked pale under the weak light. Elias knelt slow. He spoke gentle. Lyra, it is me. She looked up. Tears made wet tracks down her face. They are taking me, back to the dark. Elias felt ice in his stomach. He shook his head. Not if I can help it. He reached out. She let him pull her close. He wrapped arms around her small frame. Careful. She buried her face in his shirt. Sobs came muffled. Elias rocked her slow, like he used to do for his sister after bad dreams. He whispered, "We will fix this, I promise." He stood up with her still in his arms. He carried her to a quieter corner, away from the shouting. He set her down gentle. He sat beside her. Tell me what happened. Lyra wiped her eyes. They read names this morning. Mine was on the list. Auntie never came. No one came. Elias rubbed his face hard. His mind raced. He had contacts, a medic friend, a clerk, who owed him a favor. He could pull strings, but time was short. Transports loaded in hours. He said, "Stay here. Do not move. I will go talk to people. I will get your name off that list." Lyra grabbed his sleeve. "Do not leave me, please." Elias looked into her violet eyes, big and scared. He nodded. "Okay, we go together." He helped her stand. They walked hand in hand through the mess. Guards eyed them. Elias kept his face calm. He headed for the processing desk. A tired officer sat behind a screen. Elias leaned in. He spoke low. "Sergeant Elias Kane, Coalition Forces. I need to check a name. Lyra Vireth, child." The officer typed slow. He frowned. "She is scheduled for Transport 3, departure in 4 hours." Elias leaned closer. "She has family here. Human sponsor, me." The officer looked up. "You are not cleared for guardianship." Elias felt anger rise. He pushed it down. "I am requesting emergency hold. She is alone, no guardian, war orphan." The officer sighed. "Paperwork takes days, not hours." Elias gripped the counter. "I will fill them now." The officer hesitated, then slid a tablet over. Elias grabbed it. He started typing fast. Lyra stood silent beside him. She hugged the lunchbox like armor. Minutes dragged long. Shouts echoed around them. Elias finished the forms. He hit submit. The officer checked the screen. Pending review. Could take time. Elias nodded tight. "Thank you." He led Lyra back to their corner. They sat against the wall. She trembled still. Elias put an arm around her. "It will be okay." He said it more for himself. Hours passed slow. Announcements kept coming. Names called. People walked away crying or numb. Elias watched the clock on the wall. Time slipped away. Lyra opened her lunchbox once. She stared inside. Her lips moved silent. Then she closed it quick. Elias asked soft, "You okay?" She shook her head. "I am scared. If they take me, I will be alone again." Elias swallowed hard. "You will not be alone. Even if—" He stopped. He could not finish the thought. Instead he said, "Show me inside again. Maybe there is something, and I teach it." A note. "Something we can use." Lyra looked at him long. Her eyes searched his face. She nodded slow. She handed the lunchbox over. Her hands shook. Elias took it gentle. The metal felt warm from her grip. He opened the lid slow. He expected empty space. Clean, shiny bottom. What he saw made his breath stop. The bottom was covered with tiny folded scraps. Dozens of them. Neat squares of thin paper. Some torn from ration wrappers. Some from old forms. All folded careful. Elias looked at Lyra. "What are these?" she whispered. "Notes. From Mama." Every day, Elias felt his chest tighten. He picked one up careful. He unfolded it. Childish Viret script. His implant translated rough. "For Mama. Today I was brave when the lights went out." He unfolded another. "For Mama, the human soldier gave me a blanket. He is kind." Tears pricked his eyes fast. He kept going. Note after note. "For Mama, I did not cry today. For Mama, I ate pretend food so you would not worry. For Mama, Elias smiled at me again like you said humans could." Morning. "For Mama, the human is kind, like you promised. Do not worry, I am not alone anymore." Elias' hands shook bad. His vision blurred. Hot. Tears fell quiet on the paper. He could not stop them. He wiped his face rough, but more came. Lyra watched him. She touched his arm light. "Elias." He looked at her through wet eyes. She made these every day. Instead of food, she fed her mama memories, kept her alive in a box. Lyra nodded small, so she would not fade. Elias pulled her close. He hugged her tight. "You are the bravest person I know." She cried soft against his chest. He cried too, open and raw, in that noisy hall, surrounded by strangers and fear. One small girl showed him love never left, even when everything else did. And one broken soldier found his heart again, in scraps of paper, in an empty lunchbox, full of everything that mattered. Elias held Lyra close, while tears streamed down his face. His shoulders shook, silent. The noisy hall faded to a dull roar around them. He could not speak yet. The small folded notes lay scattered gentle in his lap, each one a quiet proof of love that refused to die. Lyra patted his back soft. Her small hand moved in slow circles, like her mother must have done for her once. "It's okay, Elias," she whispered. "You can cry." He laughed, wet and broken. "I am supposed to be the strong one." Lyra shook her head against his chest. "Strong people cry too, when things matter." Elias pulled back slow. He wiped his eyes rough with his sleeve. He looked at her silver face, wet violet eyes, brave small mouth. He said, "These notes, they are the most beautiful thing I ever saw." Lyra looked down at the papers. "Mama liked when I wrote. She said words keep people close even when far." Elias nodded. She was right. He gathered the scraps careful. He folded them neat again. He placed them back inside the lunchbox, one by one. Note went in. He closed the lid, gentle. He handed the box to Lyra. She took it and hugged it tight. Elias stood up. He pulled her to her feet. "Come on, we are not done yet." He walked her back to the processing desk. The same tired officer still sat there. Elias placed both hands on the counter. His voice came steady now. "I need an update on that emergency hold." The officer typed slow. He looked surprised. "It just cleared." Sponsor approved. Temporary guardianship granted to Sergeant Elias Kane. Pending full review. Elias felt air rush out of him. He grinned big. Thank you. The officer shrugged. You got lucky. System moved fast today. Elias did not care why. He turned to Lyra. You hear that? You stay. No transport. Lyra stared up, her mouth opened, then closed, then she jumped. She wrapped arms around his waist. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Elias hugged her back. He lifted her off the ground a little. People around them watched quiet. Some smiled small. Others looked away polite. Elias set her down. He said, We need to find you a better spot. Not this floor anymore. I know a quiet room near the medic wing. They let me use it sometimes. Lyra nodded fast. Okay. They walked together through the hall. Elias carried her blanket and the lunchbox when she got tired. She held his hand tight. The medic wing smelled clean, like soap and metal. A nurse saw them. She recognized Elias. She waved them to a small side room. It had 2 cots, a table, even a window that showed stars outside. Elias thanked her. He set Lyra on one cot. She bounced once. It is soft. Elias chuckled. Better than floor. He sat on the other cot. He looked at her serious. We will make this official soon. Papers and checks. But for now, you stay with me. No more waiting alone. Lyra smiled wide. I like that. Elias rubbed his neck. I got to tell you something. These notes, they made me remember why I keep going, even after everything. Humans break easy sometimes, but we glue ourselves back with things like this. Small kindnesses, memories in boxes. Lyra tilted her head. Elias reached into his pocket. He pulled out a worn photo. His sister smiled from it, young and laughing. He showed Lyra. This is her. She packed notes in my lunches. Silly stuff. Kept me laughing in bad places. Lyra touched the photo gentle. She is pretty, like you said. Elias nodded. She was. Lyra looked at her lunchbox. Now we both have boxes, full of important things. Elias smiled soft. Yeah, we do. Days turned to weeks in the small room. Elias worked light duty. He helped with refugee intake. He made sure Lyra ate real food now. She tried human things slow. She liked the fruit paste best. She even took bites of his protein bars sometimes. She said they tasted like strong dirt, but good strong dirt. Elias laughed every time. Other refugees noticed them. Some came by to talk. They shared stories. They brought small gifts, a carved stone, a braided thread, a song sung soft. Word spread quiet about the human soldier, about the silver girl with the lunchbox. People started calling it the memory box. Notes inside when Lyra allowed tiny messages of hope, of lost ones remembered. The box grew fuller, but never too heavy. One evening, Lyra sat on her cot. She opened the lunchbox wide. She looked at Elias. I think Mama would like it here. Elias sat beside her. I think so too. She would be proud. Lyra closed the box gentle. She leaned against him. Elias put an arm around her. They watched stars move slow outside the window. Quiet filled the room. Warm. No more running. No more empty waiting. Just 2 people. Different skins, different worlds. Same stubborn heart that refused to let go. Elias whispered, You saved me, Lyra. More than you know. She looked up. You saved me first. With sitting, with listening, with crying when you saw my notes. Elias kissed the top of her head, light. We saved each other. That is how it works sometimes. Lyra smiled, sleepy. I like how it works. Elias held her close. The lunchbox rested between them. No longer empty, full of proof that love speaks every language, that kindness crosses galaxies. Even in war, even in loss, a human heart could break open wide enough to hold one small alien girl, and her mother's memory, safe inside, forever.